thankful for that. And, I think the transition for me was not caring about people's reactions or opinions. I think what happens a lot of times when guys are playing in the NFL, they're so used to having that eye-opening wow reaction when someone's like, "Oh, what do you do?" And they say, "Oh, I play football for whoever," and they're like, "Oh, wow, that's awesome, right?" And so then they get done playing football, and whether it's they haven't figured out what their next chapter is yet, or they, are in maybe an industry that isn't as sexy,
Right.
they're not getting that same reaction, and so it's kind of like you kind of feel down, like, oh man, like I don't have that flash and that allure anymore. And so I think for me, it was, I stopped caring about, not having this like sexy title of like, oh, I own a supplement company. It sounds pretty like whatever, like right out the gate. I can spice it up and say brain health supplement company, make it sound a little bit more like legitimate. I know it's legitimate and I'm confident in that. And so I kind of just don't care. I don't even really bring up that I played football because people don't ask, what did you used to do? They say, what do you do?
Mental health champions, we are back, and I am excited for this show. I had the chance to interview Andrew on That Entrepreneur Show. It will be coming out later this summer. But after learning all about what he stands for and he has done since the NFL, I realized I had to bring him here to a mental health break as well. Not only will he talk about life in the NFL, how that takes a toll on your mental health, that constant grind. We talk about concussions and that side of the NFL, but also what he's doing since he founded Braintree Nutrition. It's a science-backed supplement company promoting cognitive health for athletes and beyond. I'm excited to dive into this. Andrew, it's good to see you again. Thanks for stopping
Hey,
by.
good to see you, buddy.
I'm
How are you?
excited. I'm doing great, man. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, man. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, thanks. No problem for coming on here on a mental health break. It's a little different than that entrepreneur show. This platform, we interview mental health advocates in all forms and professionals to let everyone viewing on, you are not alone. And after a day full of recordings, I'm excited to end it with this guy because he really brought the passion on that entrepreneur show. You can tell he loves what he does. And for today, Andrew, since we're on a mental health break, I really want to start with this company you founded and all the great stuff it's doing for mental health.
Yeah, so while I was playing in the NFL, it's obvious there's a ton of repetitive hits to the head, repetitive TBIs, concussions. And while I was playing, there weren't any products out there that were safe and banned substance free and had efficacious ingredients that were able to help, reduce these kind of inflammation and these repetitive TBIs and things like that. And so, really, part of it was just to make a product for ourselves and our teammates. Just after seeing years of prolonged head trauma, there's a huge side of football that is mental. There's a ton of cognitive demand to the game. And really, the only thing that it was out there that was a prescription drug is banned by the NFL. So
Right.
to get Adderall, you basically can't get it unless you've been taking it your whole life. And that's where we kind of set down this path of launching Braintree Nutrition to make, neurologist formulated products that are backed with ingredients that have human clinical studies proven to be effective at the dosages that we use. And so everything is data driven, science driven, what we do. And so we launched Braintree, like I said, to help us, to help our teammates, and just kind of waterfalled into all these different facets of brain health. And so launched four other pill products along with it to kind of have them all work synergistically together. And to really just try to make it easy for people to not have to go do the research and go look up like what are some other areas that can help my brain health. And so I've been working on that. Retired 2 years ago. So my first year being retired was a lot of trying to redo a lot of stuff, get it in better shape. And since then, just been, slowly scaling the business and, just grinding away just like usual, man.
Well, thanks for sharing all that. Obviously, I typically wouldn't even bring up someone's business endeavors on this show, but as someone who had a TBI, I think it's really great what you're doing for the space.
Part of what we do a lot is just constant research. Like we're constantly looking up for new ingredients that come out. Are they supported by the science? Do they have the studies on them that support what they do? And so a lot of what I do at night is at the end of the night, I'll just read a bunch of different studies on different ingredients. I have a bunch of different,
Interesting.
a lot of these expos that bring out ingredients that are new in the industry. And so you really get to kind of vet them and go through them. And I think it's just, continuing to be able to, find products that are cutting edge, that are proven to help improve your brain health. That's what I get excited about. That's what kind of keeps me going. I love to read all the science behind it and the studies. And then I just get to wear people out with it. I'm like, hey, like you should try this ingredient. Like it does this and this. And they're like, okay, man, that's a lot. But just continuing to roll out new products that are science backed and trying to be on the forefront of these kind of natural ingredients and these natural products that are not prescription drugs, don't have these long term negative side effects like an
Right.
Adderall or like a prescription drug, and trying to get people to switch to these ingredients that aren't, don't create dependency and don't have the, kind of the neurochemical changes
Right.
in your brain that you would get from taking some of that stuff long term.
You mentioned how Adderall, you couldn't get it in the NFL unless you're prescribed for a long time. Which product have you made that helps people focus in a similar fashion?
Yeah, so our flagship product is called Think. It's a nootropic and neuroprotection product. So it's designed for memory, focus, and neuroprotection. So we have ingredients in there that are proven on human clinical studies to help with ADHD symptoms, to help with age-related mental impairment, to increase overall cognitive function, brain health. The one of our other extracts in there, the blueberry fruit extract, is like an extremely strong anti-inflammatory, antioxidant from the anthocyanins in there. So really just, I mean, we spent a long time going through all the different ingredients to really like try to formulate the best one that we could. But basically created a non-stimulating natural Adderall in a sense. As far as like, people think of Adderall as like this, like, brain supplement or like a focus supplement. So, making something that kind of has some of those elements to help with those symptoms, but not the side effects and not the like huge stimulating effect that it gets. So a much more natural level. And it's great because they're ingredients that, they work better the more that you use them
Right.
too. It just becomes part of your lifestyle. And, it's something that, like you said, supported by the science. We have the studies on them. And so that's what also, like, for me as a business owner, just I feel better and sleep better at night knowing that like I'm actually giving you something that I take myself, that I use to improve my mental health and my brain health.
Well, I'm definitely going to chat with you after the show because I want to learn more about that, how I could get it. Because right now, for example, after a full day having that Zoom fatigue, that's something I certainly would love to look at. And I'm scared to like take stuff just over the counter, all of that stuff. I'm not big into energy drinks like here and there, sure, but something that's actually healthy for me, I think is
Right.
the best bet.
Yeah, I mean that's why we pick a lot of these extracts that are, plant derived or naturally derived. They
Right.
have studies on them to support these different areas. And like, we're human too. We've dealt with all these same symptoms of having the afternoon lag or not having, having problems sleeping, and all these different areas. And so, I think that's part of it too, is like not only addressing these other areas that improve your brain health, but like just the things that people go through on a day-to-day basis. Like I have a hard time, whether it's I have a hard time waking up in the morning and like focusing in the morning. I always have a crash in the afternoon. I'm not sleeping well, different things like that. So that's the exciting part, is that we're actually, helping people.
Well, thanks again for all the great work you're doing for the brain injury community. Everyone out there, we'll revisit this again at the end of the show. Where can we find you online? Where can we say hello, especially if you need some brain health improvement?
Yeah, so you can find us at braintreenutrition.com. And you can find us on socials at Take Braintree. And we put a lot of different, kind of scientific information up on our socials and different things and through the email channels and whatnot. But yeah, go check us out at braintreenutrition.com.
Thanks for sharing that. I'm going to shift gears a bit, staying on mental health improvement, ways we can improve our mental health. This is something I think I've actually asked every single guest over the years. What are some things you do that works well for you as far as improving your mental health? I know that not everything works for everyone, so I'd like to give a little bit of everything.
I think one thing that happens as an entrepreneur and just life in general, you have a lot going on is just like literally turning my phone off for certain periods of time where
Yeah.
I'll always text my mom before because she'll get nervous that like something happened, and I'll text my fiance, I'd be like, hey, I'm turning my phone off for the next like hour and a half. And just kind of like going on a walk outside, or like just even if it's just propping my feet up and putting like a sleep mask on and maybe some like noise canceling
Yep.
head, just something to like almost like just check out from the world for like an hour. Sometimes I fall asleep, sometimes I don't. And just like being away from all the emails and like people asking you this and that is really just kind of checking out. And I think for me, I have to remind myself because I've always been so kind of driven. I'm like, there's always work to do, got to be doing work. And I'm like, you know what? I can't do this work as effectively if I'm not in it all the way and not in it 100%, and my mind is going different directions. So I'll just do kind of a reset, and I'll just be like, all right, everyone's shut off right now. The whole world is shut off. Do that reset, kind of take your me time to
Yep.
do that. And sometimes it takes one session, a week. It might be one time a day. It might be like, it just depends on the amount of workload I have. But I'll start to feel that get on me, where I'm like, okay, like it's getting on me a little bit. I'm feeling a little pull here and there. Um, I had a long day today too, up early doing a bunch of stuff like yourself. Like after this call, I'll probably go do that and just kind of post up for a second, check out, and kind of reset, and then I could kind of finish my day at a much higher level, much more efficient level, happier, better mood, just kind of like had that time to myself. So that's what I do personally.
Very well said. And I resonate in a lot of those areas. I turned the phone off really completely at the end of the day. But funny enough, I have to check in with my mother as well. One time I had it off and she was going crazy. Why wasn't I answering? And I left it off overnight. So I'm like, just take my location so this doesn't happen again. But when I have to turn off, it does get overwhelming. And it's one thing, it's a consistent workload, stacking and stacking and stacking. And you don't always get to finish one task before you can move on to the next. So I love that advice there. Tell me more about your walks. Do you take them silently? Do you take them with music, or tell us about your walks? Because I take
Uh,
mine just nothing.
it depends, like sometimes if want to feel more energetic, I might put like a score of a movie or just an instrumental or a focus playlist. It could be, the music could be anything, but there's other times where I kind of want to hear the nature. I want to hear the sounds of the people and just, the water. I'm very thankful that where I live in Austin, there's a nice river lake that runs right through downtown. So I get to walk around that kind of, even though I'm in downtown, I still get to experience a little bit of nature. So there's times where I just want to, I want to hear everything too. I want to like take it all in. So it depends.
Yeah, I'm with you there on the second one. I try to be very mindful of just taking in that natural noise because it's a reset for me where it's not the go, go, go. I'm centering on purpose. I'm lucky enough to be by the beach as well. Sometimes I'll go just walk up there for a little bit, come back. Again, depending on how heavy the workload is. Everyone out there, nature is so important. That sunlight gives you the vitamin D you need. And for me, it gives us the ability to reset. We spoke about it a lot. I want to give some advice out there now for anyone out there after sports. Say they're listening on right now. I know mentally it was probably a bit of a transition. You mentioned how you're so motivated and you're go, go, go as an athlete. You still have to find a way to get back to that level mentally. Walk us through that if you don't mind.
Yeah, I think you have to also understand that you might not be able to achieve those same highs that you felt while you were playing football, but
Right.
I think that's okay. It's like you were lucky enough to ever experience those highs, so you should be thankful for that. And, I think the transition for me was not caring about people's reactions or opinions. I think what happens a lot of times when guys are playing in the NFL, they're so used to having that eye-opening wow reaction when someone's like, "Oh, what do you do?" And they say, "Oh, I play football for whoever," and they're like, "Oh, wow, that's awesome, right?" And so then they get done playing football, and whether it's they haven't figured out what their next chapter is yet, or they, are in maybe an industry that isn't as sexy,
Right.
they're not in that same reaction, and so it's kind of like you kind of feel down, like, "Oh man, like I don't have that flash and that allure anymore." And so I think for me, it was, I stopped caring about not having this like sexy title of like, oh, I own a supplement company. It sounds pretty like whatever, like right out the gate. I can spice it up and say brain health supplement company, make it sound a little bit more like legitimate. I know it's legitimate and I'm confident in that. And so I kind of just don't care. I don't even really bring up that I played football because people don't ask, what did you used to do? They say, what do you do? So they want to know what you
Yeah.
do now. And so I don't necessarily need to even tell you that I played football.
Mm.
And, I know my mission. I know what I'm doing is important. And I know I'm doing it at a high level. So I think that was one of the big transition things is just finding something that you like to do that's challenging, that makes you grow and not really caring about what people will view you as doing that after football. I think a lot of guys too, they like or just kind of maybe people in general, like after football, if you're not doing another like really high end kind of sexy job, they're kind of like, oh, he's like just to this now. Like it's like, okay, well, I also just got done playing in the NFL for 12 years. So like why do I have to go do another like crazy thing? Like, too many people pride themselves on what industry they work in. They love to ask you what you do just so they can say, oh, I'm in this industry or I'm in that industry. And I'm like, okay, that's cool. But like, I mean, you work for somebody. Like I get to make my own schedule. Like, and so I people too often they want to have that shiny like job industry that they're in. But I'm like, well, shit, I could work in tech and like file papers, like,
Yeah.
but I'm gonna go around and say I work in tech. Like, that's I don't. So I guess that's where a lot of times when people are asking what you do and things like that, I've never been like that. I think I'm just used to like when I played football, I never asked people what they do, obviously, because I didn't want them to ask me.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I would just kind of take you as you are. Hey, how are you? Cool. Like I like that guy. I'll hang out with him again for sure. So
Well, I
yeah,
love how humble you are, not bringing up that you played in the league. I think that's awesome. And you're 100% right. As long as you're following something you're passionate about, it shouldn't matter what other people think. I myself resonate with the latter of that story where I was a finance major and I thought I wanted the corner office with the job title and the salary. And I shared that story often because once I got it, I really was unhappy and I couldn't understand because I was making more money than I've had at any point. So from there, that's what started the podcast, the writing, and all of that stuff. So thank you for sharing that. Thank you for sharing all the great stuff you shared today. And now, of course, it is time for the last word before I ask you for your contact info one more time. What do you want your last word to be for all of our mental health champions out there today?
my last word. God, that's such a like. I just wanted to make it perfect. But I guess I'm just thinking about um, never get too high, never get too low, and just stay consistent and stay on the path.
I like that. And it's easy to get down on ourselves when those lows happen, especially if you're an entrepreneur out there. It's the up and down, but just be believing in yourself, I think goes a long way, surrounding yourself with people who believe in you as well. Thanks again for the great show. Where can we find you online?
So you can find me on socials at andrew.sendejo. If you want to learn more about Braintree, you can find us at braintreenutrition.com or on socials at Take Braintree.
You heard that, everyone. If you're like me, that supplement sounded really intriguing because of how long my days are. I can't wait to learn more, and I'll do a follow-up here on the show. Be sure to check out the show at Mental Health Break on all podcast platforms, all social media platforms, and check me out on YouTube at Vincent A. Lancy, where you will find this channel and the video version of the show. With that, we're signing off from Texas all the way down to Florida. Thanks so much for stopping by, Andrew.
Thanks for having me.